Kia ora, kia ora, kia ora. Welcome to the G Wit Show, episode number 1. What the heck is the G Wit Show? It's my show, baby. It's my show, the G Wit Show. Now, if you've been following me, if you've been following this kaupapa for a while, you would have known that I've got YouTube videos that date back many, many years. However, I haven't created a lot as of recent. And I have been really wanting to create longer form content. I just hadn't quite figured out what to present, what to show, what to record, and so I kind of got stuck making a lot of shorter form content, which if you've seen my TikTok channel, you see there's plenty of recent content there, but not so much on YouTube. The G Wit Show is going to fix all that. So I've decided to come up with this show, and the concept is really around presenting segments of content and condensing it all into one unique piece of content, maybe a 10 or 15 minute episode. And the idea being that we'll do a weekly show, we'll do weekly content, and within those shows there'll be unique segments that come up every week. They're reoccurring segments. And so for episode 1, I've got my little hit list of segments that we're going to go over. So I'm going to start these shows off with the top 5 current events. I need to come up with a catchier name for that. Top 5 current events that are relevant to you, relevant to me, relevant to anyone that follows this kaupapa. Te tuarua, kupu o te wiki. We're going to have a look at a particular Māori word, maybe one that you hadn't heard of before, maybe one that you'd struggle with, and just have a little bit of a sneaky peek and have a look around that kupu. We're going to do a segment called Harikoa Highlight. So every week, every day actually, at the moment it's every day, I'm getting messages coming in, I'm getting emails coming in with different questions, different ideas from people, getting lots of nice stuff coming through. Very rarely do get much bad stuff coming through. So Harikoa Highlight is really an opportunity to highlight something that's come in, maybe via email, maybe via message, and do a bit of a shout out to that person and just highlight some of the nice things that they've got to say. We're going to do a segment called Pause for Pronunciation. I know there's a lot of people on their Te Reo Māori journey that are just starting out, even the ones that have been on it for a little while that are still really struggling with pronunciation. So we're going to look at a particular kupu and how we can break that down and getting it sounding nice and tika. We're going to do a grammar segment. So I'm going to do a short segment on a grammar lesson for you, something that's short, sharp, and hopefully you'll be able to take a lot away from. I'm going to do a segment around thoughts. These are just my general thoughts on a particular topic. It might be te reo based, it might be kaupapa Māori, it might be something completely different, something that's a bit more relevant to other parts of my life, but something that I think will still bring you value and will be somewhat insightful. And finally, I've got this great book a couple of months ago for my birthday from my brother. Big shout out to him, and it's just got hundreds and hundreds of beautiful thoughts and whakaaro. And so I'm going to finish each of those episodes with a quote from this particular book and a little bit of a discussion around that quote. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's check out what's happening around the world. Okay, first story. Expert says New Zealand is doing better than the rest of the world at revitalising protecting Indigenous language, which is a great headline. I've had a read through the article. It all looks pretty good, reads quite well. I'm always just mindful of anything that comes out and says we're achieving really well for this Indigenous outcome. I'm always very skeptical, but overall I think things are going well. The next one is chocolate lovers rush to defend Whittaker's Māori label amid uproar. Oh my gosh, you've probably seen this online. Someone actually quoted that it feels like being forced mandated injections. Oh my gosh, if this was you, please give yourself an uppercut. Article number 3, Frozen Reo Māori to release in Aotearoa in Australia on October 27. My kids are going to love that one. Can't wait for it. This is one here in Australia. Caitlin Moran, you're probably going to have to go and read about this. And some of the comments she had about the Queen, completely blown out of proportion in my opinion. I think she's just been so hard done by, and it's a ridiculous situation. And the 5th article, plenty of bleeding hearts here in Australia this week with the first game of the Bledisloe. Moving on to kupu o te wiki, and this week's kupu is hinaki. Now, I love this word, hinaki, even for the way it just sounds. Hinaki. It's like, when you're about to do a haka, and you gotta go, kia mau, hee. The he and the hinaki Man, I think that sounds cool. So hinaki is a kupu for an eel trap or an eel basket, something that sits in the river and we're able to catch our eels in the hinaki. Now, hinaki is also colloquially used for another sort of trap, another trap that has bars, is usually in a cold, desolate place, and probably a place that you don't want to be, the slammer. Moving on to our Harikoa highlight, this week comes from Lena M via the Grammar Basics for Beginners course. Always good to be back to the basics and lay and relay and strengthen the foundation. Put in the hard yards and be ready for the meteor kupu. I love that. Meteor kupu and expansion. Ngā mihi nui, Grant. Thank you, Lena. Appreciate all of your support. The word that we're going to look at today is tautoko. Tautoko. Tautoko meaning to support someone. Go and tautoko him. Ooh. Ai tautoko that whakaaro. Me tautoko koe ki ai. Tautoko, meaning to support. So if we break this kupu up, we've got the tau. I like to say we've got 3 parts to it. The tau, the to, and the ko. Now I think a lot of people can get caught up, particularly with O's in Te Reo Māori. They still pronounce them as O. So it ends up being tau, toko, tautoko, which isn't quite right. So the first part, tau, ta, u, we can break the tau up into ta and u, tau, tau, make that faster and faster, tau, tau, tau. Very similar to the sound for this thing hanging off the end of your foot, tau, tau, and then the next part, the T and the O, to, to, sorry, should be shorter, to, K-O, ko, to, ko, tau, to, ko, tau, to, ko. Have a go at working on that, tautoko. Okay, our grammar lesson for this week is how to say this is a blank. This is a something. Now, this is a fantastic sentence to learn how to say because you can use it all the time when you're around the house. It's great. You can use it to quite literally describe anything around you. Now, the direct translation of this is a blank is he blank tēnei. He meaning is or a, as in a dog or a cat, and tēnei meaning this. It's describing an object that's close to me, say within arm's reach. If we were to translate he blank tēnei back to English, we'd end up with something like a blank this. Now, here are a couple examples that you can use. This is a cup, he kapu tēnei. This is a book, he puka puka tēnei. You really can just replace the blank with any object that you can find. Here's how we're going to put all of this into action. First, find 5 objects around you and find the equivalent Te Reo Māori translation for them. So 5 new kupu for you. Start putting them into this sentence structure, he something something tēnei. And from there, once you've learnt those 5, just keep building your vocabulary. This week's whakaaro is around judgment. And this idea that sometimes we think that if we're going to go on this journey of learning Te Reo Māori, we might make mistakes along the way, and therefore people are going to judge us. And we don't like that. We don't like being judged. It's scary, you feel shy, you can feel ashamed through the judgment of others. And I want to kind of flip that. You know, if you think that you're going to get judged for saying the wrong thing, for instance, you're going to get judged anyway. You're going to get judged on everything in your life. Every time we open our mouths and give an opinion, give a thought, we're providing our own level of judgment. Whether it's harsh criticism or not, we're still judging people. Hell, if you don't do this, if you don't go on this journey, you're probably going to get judged. Oh, why didn't she do that? He should be doing that. Oh, you're a Maori. You should know how to say that. You know what I mean? So judgment comes in all shapes, forms, sizes, in anything that we do. So why do we get so hyper-focused on being judged about how we speak or what we say in terms of learning this language? I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is maybe we just need to stop being so hard on ourselves in worrying about what other people are thinking, because they're going to think stuff anyway, you know? You're worried about being judged on A when they're still going to judge you on B, C, D, and E anyway? Doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you're worried about what people are going to think, if you're worried about being judged on how you sound, maybe making mistakes, all of those sorts of things, broaden your horizons to what else you're going to be judged on. And why aren't you stopping doing those things, but you are going to stop doing this? You know, you're letting one little area of your life dictate whether you should or shouldn't say that thing or do that course, sign up to that course, say kia ora, say something that you don't know, risk looking like a fool. It's all good. It's all good. Judgment. Don't be too hard on yourselves. So our whakatauki, our quote for today is e whā o ringa, e whā o waiwai. And the description around this is something that's said to silence someone that's being quite boastful about what they've done. You've got 4 arms and 4 legs. You can do twice as much as the average person. You must be so great. It's just one of those quotes, one of those sayings, you know, to keep people humble. Keep them humble when they're boasting too much, or they're talking too outlandish and they're saying all these things, and you're just like, shut up. E whā o ringa, e whā o waiwai. Well, that's it. Episode 1 of the G Wit Show is done. We've made it to the end. Hopefully, we'll still be here in 100 more episodes, but for now, I'll see you next week on episode 2 of the G Wit Show. Thanks for tuning in. Kia ora.